All 32 picks of the 2025 NFL Draft mocked perfectly with the absolute 100% accuracy of myself, Davis Mattek, and Connor Allen. No chance, Connor, are we going to miss a single pick. We're going to go 32 for 32. We're going to get every trade correct, all players perfectly stacked. Very easy task for us here today on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, right after we made our perfect bracket for March Madness, we're rolling that into a perfect mock draft, right?
Yeah, simple. All right, so I have got the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator pulled up. No affiliation there. It's just a nice little tool. I also have the Gambly draft odds stuff up. So if we want to look at who is most likely to go at any selection, but I think we could probably just roll through these picks and decide who we want to go. One overall. I mean, I think it's just definitely Cam Ward, right? Like at this stage, I don't think there's any chance that anyone else is going one overall, correct?
No, I agree. I think it's I mean, they even tweeted this morning, like Rap Sheet, like they're not trading the pick. It's Cam Ward. So yeah, it's done.
Yeah. So there's absolutely no drama there. Now at pick 2, I mean, it's still, I would say, I don't know if I would say zero drama, but it's pretty close. Travis Hunter about minus 800 to be the second overall pick. That is the tenor that I get in the conversation. Do you think it's just as easy as Hunter there?
Yeah, like the first couple picks, I'm fine with it being chalk, and I think that's okay. And I think Hunter's, I mean, a great place to start. Makes logical sense. Wade makes more logical sense than Carter did, I think. And they've been gushing about him, like Andrew Ray's been gushing about him in like every press conference. So I think recently called him Shohei Ohtani, compared him to Shohei Ohtani. So imagine not taking Shohei with the second overall pick.
Yep. I think the first 2 picks are chalk, Ward, Hunter. And I've heard a lot of conversation, Connor, you do a ton of the NFL draft betting with BetSperts and all that stuff. Amico does it. There are a lot of guys out there who are grinding it. Obviously Josh Norris with his the all-time record for mock drafting is pretty plugged in. And they also act like pick 3 is kind of a foregone conclusion. I'm not 100% certain on that. I mean, I do think Abdul Carter probably is the most likely pick at pick 3, but if this pick was traded, if this pick was a quarterback because ownership interfered, I wouldn't be that surprised. Like, I would tell you this, I would not be laying minus 450 that Abdul Carter was the third. Like, that is not a wager that I would be making at pick 3.
No, I mean, on Jordan Renon's podcast yesterday, Schefter said that someone called him who's like has a great track record, said that the Giants are for sure picking Shedeur Sanders at third overall. And came from Adam Schefter. This is yesterday. Like, this is not like some old news that's like just circulating. Like, and I think that if the Maras get involved, it's very live for it to be Shedeur Sanders. Now, I'm personally not like going forward like that. I'm personally thinking it's probably Abdul Carter, but I think it's still possible. So yeah, like I'm not at the spot to start bridge jumping, like more like Travis Hunter. I'd rather lay minus 800 on Travis Hunter than minus 400 even on Abdul Carter, to be honest.
100%. I mean, I think for our purposes, unless we want to trade this pick, I think the most cromulent thing to do is to do Abdul Carter. I think that is the chalk. I think the draft market is largely correct. Ward, Hunter, Carter. And then I think sounds like literally all signs point towards Will Campbell going to the Patriots. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I got in on this a couple times. I bet it like plus 450 at open, plus 100, and then like I even laid to minus 250 on Campbell. Like there was a Rap Sheet report yesterday that said that if Abdul Carter did not go 3, they would still pick Will Campbell. Which to me, I don't know if I believe that, but I was like,
that seems a bit much.
I agree, but I was like, it's notable that they are even telling people they like Will Campbell that much that we didn't consider that. So yeah, I think for the sake of the mock, Will Campbell makes a lot of sense at 4, and then 5, I think it just gets wild. So we can. I don't know if you have any opinions on 5.
No, 100% agree. So Ward, Hunter, Carter, Campbell, I would say that's chalk. I would say 90% of mocks are probably going to have that. I'm kind of tempted just for clickbait to do Shedeur there. Because I honestly, if that pick comes and it's pick 3, the Giants take Shedeur Sanders through, I promise you, dude, I'm not going to be surprised. I really am not. It's kind of, should Shedeur be a third overall pick? I don't think so. Are you going to hear all kinds of crazy stuff? Like, is it possible Shedeur doesn't go in the first round? Sure. Absolutely. I'm not even saying any of that. This is where I would like to propose a spicy trade, though.
All right, let's hear it.
This is one of the first spots where I think it makes sense. I think that we should try and see if it makes sense to trade the Chicago Bears up from 10 to this pick at 5. Ben Solak has tweeted this. Multiple people have tweeted this. All these teams up here want to move down. The amount of teams that want to move up is really light, really low compared to a normal year. I kind of want to try. Actually, I do want to try and trade this pick.
Let's do it. I mean, so the Bears have 2 second-round picks this year too. So like, it would probably be. I was looking at the trade chart yesterday because I think that this actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it would have to be like 10, and then it would be 39 or 41 from the Bears, and then probably the chart says like 88. They like the Jags have to give back like 88 or 107, somewhere in that range. So like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter because I'm assuming we're only doing the first round here, but that's
Correct.
like what the chart says. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bears to do that. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. I know the Jags have been all of a sudden a week out now talking about
yeah, now we want Jeanty. Now we want Jeanty, right. Everyone. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you're picking up.
Yep. So I don't know if I buy it fully, but I think it's enough to make the Bears consider trading up. So
yep. All right, we're gonna do it. We are gonna trade pick 10, and we're gonna trade pick 41 from the Chicago Bears for pick 5, and then getting pick 88 back from the Jaguars. PFF says they would not be interested in trading for this, but we're gonna force the trade. The trade is done. And we are going to go back on the clock. Pick 5. Ashton Jeanty is now the starting running back for Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears. If you are following along at home, you could do a round 4 swap for DeAndre Swift for your favorite. If someone wants DeAndre Swift, I'm sure they would do it. Now, everyone has decided that Jeanty is going to be a Raider. Jeanty is off the board. What are we doing at pick 6?
Yeah, personally, I think that they would go with a guy like Armand Membou. Right now, they're starting like a 3rd or 4th rounder, DJ Glaze at right tackle. John Spytek and Pete Carroll, historically have loved the trenches. They focus on premium positions. Like, I think that Spytek's whole rant about running backs, like last week, also came a week after he talked about the importance of premium positions and how like you can get another position, like you can get running backs later. Like this is like a week after that, he started talking about running back. So I think Membou's in play. I know some people like Ted McMillan here at 6 overall. Personally, I'm going to be probably mocking Membou or Jalen Walker. But, and then I think Mason Graham, obviously, like some people have talked about him going 5. The Jags, or the Raiders front 7 is like, I would say the best part of their team. And they have holes at like so many other spots, including receiver, including offensive line. I just think that they would need to build elsewhere. I don't know if you have any Raiders takes though.
Pete Carroll. Old school trenches. Chip Kelly, it's all based around the running game. Can't have a running game without an offensive line. Their quarterback is 34. I think it makes a ton of sense. I think I agree with the betting markets on Membou. And by the way, I did actually just want to make this point, and Connor, I'm sure you're very familiar with this, but NFL draft betting is really hard now. The days of being able to just hammer minus 110 lines that actually probably should have been minus 5,000. That is so gone. We are so past that era. The way you're going to snap up value here is you hit a couple 23 to 1s. You hit one 40 to 1. You want to be building in these super long shot positions. I think that's and this one is not a super long shot, but look, we just built in that trade, and all of a sudden the context of our mock is a little bit different. So we have Membou at 6 to the Raiders. The Jets are now on the clock. I got to say, I'm not buying Tyler Warren stuff. Are you buying the Tyler Warren stuff at 7 to the Jets?
Yeah, I go back and forth. Like, I think that a guy here like Kelvin Banks would make sense for them at 7. I think that Tyler Warren could make sense. From my understanding, those are the main players that, given how the board's shaken out, like that's probably who they're looking at. Just like right now, the way their team's set up, like they need to make their offensive line better so they can run the ball and then maybe try and compete that way. Like, they have Garrett Wilson. Their defense could be okay. I mean, they played really bad at the end of the last season after they lost Saleh. So personally, I would probably go with Kelvin Banks. But I don't know. I'm open to other arguments if you think they might go elsewhere. Mason Graham, maybe. I don't know.
I think when in doubt, doing a mock draft, put yourself in the mind of a coach, of a GM, of a front office guy. You just do not go broke building from the trenches, right? So if you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to get fancy Tyler Warren, oh, I'm going to get fancy cornerback, I'm going to get fancy Tet. I think the simplest thing, especially when it's a real glaring need, is the trenches guy, and the Jets have a bigger need on the offensive line than they do on the defensive line. So I'm aligned. I think we're going to do Kelvin Banks. That is a good one. I was actually looking earlier. You can get some good prices on Kelvin Banks to go this early. So I would keep an eye out for that one. So we're now on the clock. Tet McMillan potentially here for the Panthers at 8.
Yeah, I think Tet or Jalen Walker is a really popular mock. I think he might even be like -110 right now to go to the Panthers. But they're like a wild card, like they're a team that I think them and then, the Raiders and the Jags right now, we're looking at like teams that I personally don't know like what they're going to do, to be honest. It's like after 5, I think you can tell me that they take Tet, tell me that they take Jalen Walker, and it could all
You
make
tell
sense.
me all kinds of stuff after 5, dude.
Yeah, literally, literally anything. So yeah, I would say Jalen Walker. I know they like Michael Williams or Ted. Like literally one of which is not contrarian because it's the top 3 in odds, but it's reflected in what I think is probably the most likely outcomes.
I tell you what, this Mason Graham price is not bad. I would probably say Mason Graham is and Tyler Warren too. If we're not going to build this in, but this would be a spot that if someone did want to trade up for him, because the Saints have been rumored to be interested in him, they would want to get up here. I
Right.
think for these purposes, I think we should just go. Actually, let's go Mason Graham. Let's go
Cool.
Mason
Yeah.
Graham. It's been a pretty rumored one, and I have been pretty firm on this throughout the whole draft thing. I think Tet is going to go a little bit lower than people believe. I think Tet is more like in the 20s than in the 10s, which I think is going to be reflected in actuality.
I think so too, but the last like week of rumors has been like, oh, he's live at 5, he's live at 6, he's live at 8, and I'm like, oh, like that's not the whole draft process. Otherwise, has been like, oh, Tet's gonna fall because he can't separate because he's just more of a jump ball receiver. Not teams aren't as high on him. He's not like he doesn't committed to the game. Basically, he's like admitted he doesn't watch tape on his own outside of the stadiums, things like
Right.
that. Football guys like drives him nuts. Like that's like that might take him off some people's boards like immediately. For whatever, like, even though I don't really think it's necessarily super valid, but again, it's not our opinion making the pick, right?
All right. We're entering into multiverse territory with the Saints pick at 9, and we might even have maybe we'll get to have a little bit of maybe we'll embrace debate with this selection. I think at pick 9, I think we see the New Orleans Saints select Jaxson Dart. Ole
Wow.
Miss. Yeah. I have placed a wager of my own US dollars on Jaxson Dart exactly to the New Orleans Saints and exactly at 9 overall. That's Dart ahead of Shedeur. That is no trading up. That's no trading down. Underhill, who obviously, if you are familiar with Establish the Run, you know all about Underhill because Evan Silva loves that man. He's been pretty adamant. Nothing really about Dart, but that the ownership group, the front office, they have realized the rebuild's here. There's nothing. We finally are ready to pay the piper. The easiest way to pay the piper is to get a rookie quarterback who can play. And you are more plugged in than me, so maybe you think it's more likely for this to be Shedeur. But this my vote right here, and I'm treating this as like my final mock. I think Jaxson Dart at 9.
Yeah, I would say definitely more likely than Shedeur. I would say Jaxson Dart definitely more likely than Shedeur. I personally don't think they're going to go quarterback for whatever reason, just based on what I'm hearing. But if they do go quarterback, I think that Jaxson Dart would make a lot of sense. I'm pretty confident they are a Jaxson Dart team or Tyler Shug. Like
They probably think they can get him in round 2. They probably think there's some chance that they can get him in round 2.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of smoke at the end of round 1, or like try and trade back into round 1 for him. But to me,
Yep.
I just I struggle with that kind of stuff because we see from time and time again, like if you like a quarterback and you think he's like a franchise chasing quarterback, like you just take him where you are. You don't trade back and try and get value. it's not like a fantasy draft, like where you're just like, oh, I'll trade back a little bit and maybe take some more picks and then get my quarterback. It's because you need the quarterback to hit. So like you got to lock that in when you can, and if you believe in him, you get him there. So yeah, I would say for this mock, let's go Dart. I mean, personally, I think I'm going to go like O-line, but most of the top O-line are off the board. So in this instance, like, I don't know, like Underhill was on Tyler Warren. Now it seems like there's some wavering thoughts there.
Tyler
So,
Warren would just be a disaster pick for them. I just honestly,
yeah.
it's like maybe it would be like the most Saints pick imaginable to do Tyler Warren there, but it's just a disaster for a team that is like so far beyond what an NFL. They're still paying Michael Thomas, dude. It's such
Really?
yes. It's a mess. I believe Michael Thomas is their highest cap hit wide receiver this year.
And that's bad, Michael Thomas, right? No, I'm just kidding. You
Yes.
remember the whole
Yes.
that whole thing? That was great.
Oh, I remember. Southern Mississippi versus
Yep.
Ohio State. Mike Thomas. I remember,
Yeah.
brother. All right, we got Dart off at 9. That is where we're start. Look, you could get mad at me. You can yell in the comments. I think this is more live than you're wanting to admit to yourself, person who's mad at home right now. So now we have the Jaguars trade down. They're on the clock right now. I think they might consider Tet here. I think there are a number of different directions that could go. But in this universe, what do you think?
I don't think Jalen Walker has been picked yet. I've heard that they like
He
him.
is not.
Yeah, because so PFF's mock board is like a little wonky with a couple of
Yes.
guys. So like it's not really reflective of we just scroll down a good bit there. It's not like fantasy ADP where you shouldn't be scrolling that far to pick your guy. Probably it's like he's widely mocked at 8 to 10. Like he's in like 98% of mock drafts in the top 10 right now. So
I think this one's pretty easy.
yeah.
Sounds like Jalen Walker could go as early as 6, based on kind of the stuff that I've been reading and hearing. So makes
Right.
absolute sense to me. All right, we have a big inflection point here. The 49ers with the 11th pick of the NFL draft. I live in fear as a fantasy football virgin, Connor, that our universe is wrong and that they select Ashton Jeanty at this pick because Shanahan, brother, he needs a running back to make his system work. But I mean, this is a team that shed $250 million of future spending this offseason. They let their swing tackle go. Kansas City actually signed him. They have big needs up front. What are you thinking they do here?
Yeah, it's tough because again, we're in a position where we already have like 4 tackles off the board. And so I would have said Calvin Banks here. If Calvin Banks here at 11, I think that's the position that they go in. I think their luck could be live for like a corner, maybe like Will Johnson. He's like a zone heavy, player, but he's got some weird like reports lately too about like his knee. Yeah. So like, I don't know. Then I've seen like maybe some Michael Williams thoughts there or Shamar Stewart as like, defensive lineman. Honestly, this is a tough point. I'm still having trouble with my mock drafts. Honestly, at this point here, I feel pretty good about a lot of other picks later. This is a tough one. So you have any leans here specifically?
No, I agree. It is a super tough spot because the thing they need is a lineman. But particularly if the Jets do take Banks,
Yeah,
that is probably who I would imagine they want. It's probably a spot where they do something that is done as a perceived reach and they take Josh Simmons or Connerly, the tackle from Oregon. I want to say the 49ers are actually one of the teams that are okay with some medical red flags, actually. Kind of famously, they actually bring guys in the building who are medically red flags. So maybe Will Johnson is not as big of a deal for them. But I don't know, man. The Shanahan thing, it's all trenches. I think we go Josh Simmons probably.
let's do it. I think there's so there's a lot of like during draft season, there's like Twitter randoms that like tweet out things with a lot of certainty. And like from time to time, they like, Pretty Ricky or whatever, guys like him who like, so there's a one guy named Lobs All Day on Twitter who has been tweeting out like, oh, like I didn't believe it, but last year my friend told me it's Ricky Pearsall and like, here's their board this year or whatever. And like tweet out something that's like, Josh Simmons would be their number one offensive tackle. It wasn't for injury, just as like a wild card in case they could pick him. But he also said they were in on Banks and Will Johnson, which, I mean, logically those picks actually make sense for them. And plus, I like to prescribe to the random Twitter random theory of
no, I love a good Twitter random. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
No, you're actually probably more likely to generate plus EV betting stuff for the NFL draft based on like a friend of a friend of a friend
Right.
of someone who knows something than just being like arbitrage trading between books or whatever. Pick 12, the Dallas Football Cowboys. I know exactly who they're taking, dude. They are taking Golden. Golden is the most, he's the most Jerry Jones ass wide receiver ever, right? gets to watch him on TV every weekend. That's the number one qualification. Yep. Super fast, right? And not that good, right? That's the other thing. A lot of times Cowboys, they love the only thing that could make him a more Jerry Jones guy is if he somehow went to Arkansas. But yep. I totally and maybe I'll be the dumb guy in the end, but I'm the guy who's buying all the smoke about the Cowboys being that interested in Golden.
No, I'm all in. Everything that I hear is that they prefer Golden more. And, logically it makes sense to have him kind of just like clearing out space for CeeDee Lamb. So yeah, I'm in on Golden at 12.
Yep. I think it's one of those things that's like, it's both so dumb that it's obvious, but just because it's dumb doesn't mean it's not true. I really do think that is where we are at. All right. Another team that's very difficult because they have so many needs and they are in such a weird head coach quarterback. Their star wide receiver is a weirdo spot. The Dolphins, dude, what do the Dolphins do? What are the Dolphins going to do in this? And all the good tackles are gone now. We just had Simmons go pick 11.
Yeah, like I would say they're live for Jahdae Barron, the corner. I would say Gray Zabel, the offensive lineman from North Dakota State. Other than that, honestly, I mean, I just don't know. They're another team that I don't have anything written, even in pen at this point, or anything like close to that. Like it's just like pencil and kind of like chicken scratch right now for what I got going on for them.
What do they do with medical stuff? Do they care? I don't have any insight into the Dolphins front office because one of these teams is going to take a shot on Will Johnson, but it's going to be one of the teams that doesn't care that much about the medical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, they like to play, or they're okay with it. But I think that yeah, it's just really tough. I think Will Johnson's probably a good fit here. Or is Gray Zabel if you want to go that direction, if they think that they bolster the offensive line. And it could go D-line, like Michael Williams is there. He's, I think, probably going to go in this range here. But yeah, it's tough because they just need so many pieces and they're not in a good spot to get any of those in this current point of the draft. Yeah,
they do have the biggest need is on the offensive line, but it kind of makes the least sense. I think let's give them, let's give them Jahdae Barron. Let's give them Jahdae Barron. That is a low conviction, honestly. Yeah. I think they want a lineman. So maybe they do just take Gray Zabel. Maybe they do just because I think what's the quote going around right now is that there's like 13 players that would have a first round grade on every team or whatever, and then it's just a mix after that. So if you view it from that lens, they're at pick 13. I just take a lineman. But they have a need at corner as well, like a clear need at corner. So it's not like this is an irresponsible pick.
And Barron's a good fit for them, I think. So,
all right, pick 14, the Indianapolis Colts. What do you got?
Tyler Warren's still on the board, right? Or is he gone?
Yeah.
Did we pick him?
No, Tyler Warren's on the board, and I think that is who they're going to take.
Yeah, I think. I mean, they talked about tight ends today for like 40 minutes in their presser about like just using them better and using them well and like how much of a game changer it is. Michael Pittman talked about how good Tyler Warren is, like named him by name because he had that like 200-yard game against USC earlier this year, his Trojans. So yeah, I think Warren's the pick if he's there.
Yeah, it's one of the it's like it's kind of like, remember when the Steelers took Najee Harris and everyone was like, yeah, obviously they're taking Najee Harris. Sucks for fantasy football, but I think we all just have to make our peace with it. Yep. Don't feel good about it, but whatever. Atlanta Falcons. I'll tell you this. I would lay -3 300 that this pick is a defensive player. I think maybe more, honestly.
Yeah, I feel pretty strong that this is going to be Michael Williams if he's on the board.
Yes, Michael
Like
Williams is
that's
on the board.
Michael under 15.5 is one of my biggest betting positions of the draft season. So, and 15 is a key number. So,
yeah. The Falcons had basically the worst defense in the NFL last year. Sort of Panthers-esque. So the only thing they could do that would possibly tilt me more than what they've already done would be somehow taking a generational offensive player in this draft. Okay, the Arizona Cardinals, they're on the clock at pick 16. This is where we start getting into heavy trade range, and I think this is the range where we're going to see Ted McMillan go.
yeah, I totally agree. I think like from here all the way to 23 could make sense. I'm not sure that he makes a ton of sense at 16 with Marvin Harrison. Not that they're necessarily similar, but I don't know. To me, it doesn't make a ton of sense, but I could be open to it. If you're sold on the Tet to Arizona thing, I could be interested. Otherwise, I think like a Walter Nolan could make sense. Shamar Stewart, like I don't know. It's not that fun, but like I kind of just think they might pick like just a boring pick.
No, I don't think Tet is going to go to Arizona. I think they're going to be in the round 2 wide receiver
Okay.
market. I think they're going to be in like the Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, Trey Harris group. I think what they want is to get a good enough boundary wide receiver to be able to push Marvin Harrison Jr. inside. Tet can be that, but they have bigger needs. I think let's do Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. They just need to build on the line. Just pretty clear there.
Yep.
Not a super fun pick, but some of these picks are not fun, right? This is actually, it's funny. This will be the lull of the night where the excitement popped off. Tyler Warren went. You're thinking about what that means for your dynasty leagues, and this is the point where you go up and go chat with your wife or whatever. You're like,
Yep.
I don't really care whatever guard the Seattle Seahawks take. Okay, Bengals on the clock, pick 17. Please do not do anything stupid. You want to talk about a team that needs defense. This team needs defense.
Has to be defense. I would say if they're okay with Mike Green's off the field stuff, he makes sense. I think Derek Harmon, he has some like medicals pop in the last day or so, but I think he can make a lot of sense. So just someone on the defensive line, like they need to be competent at all defensively to have a chance, like to win games. They can't have Joe Burrow throwing for 500 yards every single week.
I think we should do Shamar Stewart here.
Yeah. Cool.
He just seems like too much of a freak to be in the 20s. That's really all I got. I don't even know if the Bengals are one of these teams that really values, relative athleticism or whatever. I think they are based on reading Joe Goodberry stuff. Like I think he has them as one of the teams that has thresholds that guys need to meet. And if they are a threshold team, then Shamar Stewart is going to be like he would be, if he doesn't go here, the Packers are taking him at 23. I think if Shamar Stewart does not go, if he's on the clock at pick 23, the Packers are taking him. All right, where pick 18, Seattle Seahawks, huge need on the offensive line. Feels like that is just kind of a consistent theme. Everyone needs offensive linemen. What do you have for the Seahawks?
Yeah, I think Gray Zabel makes sense here. I think that Ted McMillan could make sense here now that they don't have DK Metcalf and they had like Cooper Kupp, but like, I mean, I if the Seahawks, by the way, draft Emeka Egbuka, it's gonna have like 3 dudes who all like, can primarily play in the slot and then play some outside, but like you want them more in the slot. Like, so I just hope that they don't draft Egbuka. But yeah, I think Will Johnson, Tet, or Zabel make the most sense here.
You know what? I think Tet makes more sense for them than Zabel does. The other thing we could consider would be the bridge quarterback. What if Darnold is the bridge? He's got that same Daniel Jones injury guarantee thing where it's basically a 1-year deal, like cascading. This used to make sense to me as a dart spot before his stock got kind of hot. I think let's do Tet.
Okay.
But I, again, we're doing a mock draft, and I'm putting my ink on it, but there are many things going on in the world. I could see this being the Dart team, but Tet actually makes a ton of sense if you like Darnold. If you're like, oh, we
Right.
actually are going to try and ride with Darnold. Okay, we got him JSN, we got him Tet. Cooper Kupp, is going to be basically replacing Tyler Lockett for us. This would be a brutal outcome for fantasy. Him having to compete
Oh
year
yeah.
one with those guys for targets. But that is the new meta, is teams do like having 3 really strong wide receivers. So we got the Buccaneers at 19. What are we doing?
I think there's 2 guys here that are interesting. One's Jihad Campbell, the linebacker. But it depends on his medicals. He might start the season on PUP. So I think I like he's a perfect fit for Todd Bowles' defense, but depends on how they view those medicals. Another guy that I think that they like, from what I was hearing from some of the pods, was Donovan E. It was like Azuruke, and like the defensive lineman out of Boston College. So I think either of those guys make a ton of sense for this Bucks team. But yeah, I mean, we're getting to the point in the draft when we're I think anywhere from 12 on, if you get 3 to 4 picks right, you're a genius, in these mock drafts. Just to be clear to the audience, it's if you get a couple picks right here, you are just, you're flying high, because it's so hard to nail anyone after the top 10, honestly.
100%. All right. Where are you casting your vote?
I would go with Donovan E. It's the highest part of his range, but there was a lot of conviction from some insiders that were he's going to the Bucks if he's there, basically. So,
all right, Donovan Iziraku.
yeah,
That's not that hard. From Boston College at pick 19 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Got a really easy one here. Omarion Hampton at pick 20 to the Denver Broncos. That is about as forecasted as a pick can get. They let Javonte Williams go. Audric Estime was a healthy scratch for their playoff game. This is happening.
There are some under 20 and a halves at certain books. Just I've been laying whatever juice, whatever they'll give me, whatever the limits are. I've just been betting the under on that. I think it's minus 250 at another book. I don't care. It's Sean Payton's picking him if he's there. I'm not necessarily buying the trade up stuff. If they are trading up, it's because they're scared someone's going to trade ahead of him for Hampton. So I think the under 20 and a half is pretty good.
Yeah. Yep. I think that is the case. The Steelers, can I sell you on one Mr. Let all naysayers know, Jalen Milroe?
I think they like him, right? I mean,
I think they like him.
That it kind of makes sense. This is where I had him. I don't know, when he got that combine invite, right? Because the NFL was oh, we're going to slim down on combine or draft invites. We're gonna slim down on
because
draft
they don't
invites.
want the Will Levis thing,
right? But then they invited 17 people anyway. So so I kind of took it away a little bit, but he's still going to be there. I'm pretty sure that they like him. So yeah, I think he's very live at 21.
I think he's very live at 21. I think they like him. I think he fits the Steelers ethos. Kind of honestly, like what Artie Smith wanted to do with Justin Fields. What Arthur Smith was able to do with Desmond Ridder, but Milroe's much better than Ridder. Was better than Ridder in college. Bigger, stronger, faster, better deep ball. The decision making, I'm not breaking any news here. Jalen Milroe is not a finished product. I don't think anyone thinks he is a finished product right now as a quarterback. But I think he's going round 1, and I think he's going to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Do you think that the Steelers could win 8 games with Jalen Milroe as the starting quarterback the entire season?
Absolutely.
I kind of think that they could too, actually. Just week 1, it would be bad, but they would win some games.
Milroe will immediately be the second best running quarterback in football behind Lamar. He's better runner than Daniels, better runner than Kyler, similar to Fields, but stronger than Fields. Yep. Yeah. Now Arthur Smith has to use him, and just a lot that can happen there. But I'm a Milroe believer. come hell or high water. Not saying that's like if a team was like if the Saints take Milroe at 9, to me that is a little shaky.
That would be
I'm
a lot.
a little bit more like at 9. That's crazy. There are some premium assets on the board here. But anyway, Chargers are on the clock at pick 22. Before I give what I think they're going to do, I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I would in this spot probably take one of the Michigan guys with Colston Loveland or Kenneth Grant. So I think either of those guys are great picks for the Chargers here.
Yeah, think we just take the chalk here. Colston Loveland. First thing is people do forget this. Harbaugh was a quarterback, bro. People they do the Harbaugh is and don't get me wrong, Harbaugh is a dinosaur and they play dinosaur football, but he was a quarterback, man. He knows what he is asking Herbert to do, going out there throwing to Lad McConkey and a bunch of Cirque du Soleil performers, right? Like he understands what he is asking Herbert to do. He wants to make his life easier. I feel good about them wanting a tight end. I feel good about them wanting a wide receiver. I think they'd be hip to Tet if he was here. Had we not removed Tet from the board, I think they would be hip to him there as well. But Harbaugh recruited Loveland. It's pretty perfect. The hometown team is now picking at pick 23, the Green Bay Packers. What do you got for me?
Yeah, because so the Packers are one of the threshold, Raz threshold teams here.
Yes.
So I think looking at the board of who's left, you're looking at maybe Derek Harmon, maybe Egbuka, Kenneth Grant qualifies, Nick Emmanwori, the safety, and then
that was my pick was Emmanwori. He feels like the most Packery because dude, they're not gonna give the Packers fans what they want. The Packers fans want a wide receiver so bad. No chance are they gonna give them what they actually want.
I think the only chance they pick a wide receiver is if Tet's on the board. There were some beat writers speculating that I was talking to that were like he would be just like a perfect fit for them based on everything that they want. Even though he didn't complete technically athletic testing, like he would qualify if he ran the numbers that they had, and like they need an alpha like outside guy. And I don't know if Egbuka is that guy either. So like even though he qualifies, like I don't know if that really makes a ton of sense fit wise.
I don't know if it does either, but I know that I see a 10 RAS and I go,
yeah,
that dude. One, I love a 10 RAS, but I also know that Goot himself loves a 10 RAS as well. Nick Emmanwori. I would say for Packer stuff, I would just run it all by Justice Moscudesa, and I know that he's big on thinking that both Starks and Emmanwori are potential selections there for the Packers at 23. I gotta be real with you, Connor. Here at pick 24, I have given no thought to what the Vikings might do. I honestly this whole time. I kind of forgot the Vikings have even had a first. This is my first time going through and doing an entire mock, and I know they're not taking an offensive player. They're not taking a running back. They're not taking a tight end. They're not taking a quarterback. They're not taking a wide receiver. So for my fantasy football brain, I've not thought about this at all.
Yeah, I think that the first off, they're a really popular trade down spot. So if we wanted to have someone
we only have
trading
4 picks.
Yeah, if someone wants to trade up for Shedeur, I think this is a great spot to trade down with the Browns or Giants to come up for Shedeur Sanders.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, much so that I might even have in my final mock the Browns at 24 because I mean it makes
Browns 33 to 24. What is
I don't know what they'd have to give up. Maybe 67 or something. I don't know. I don't even know and it'd have to be another pick swap, basically, something like that.
Well, so Minnesota just wants more picks, right? Because they only have 4 total picks.
Yep.
So let's just give them 104 and 179.
Okay.
This might not be close. Do your math at home, but yeah.
The trade chart bros are gonna be pissed.
The trade chart bros are gonna be pissed. I think this is close. Based on my memory of how it works, I think this is close. Pick 33, 104, and 179 for pick 24. That's got to be fairly close. We're going to force the trade. It's done. we're going to go back to the draft. And at pick 24, we have the Cleveland Browns trading back up for Shedeur Sanders. And I think this is a handshake. Everyone involved in this, Shedeur, the Browns, the Vikings, I think everyone is happy with this negotiation, frankly, because there's not a huge need that the Vikings could have addressed right there. They don't need any of these skill position players. All the top tier linemen are gone. I think that one made sense.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, what's his name? Quezzy talked about last year. He's like, oh, the analytics department is going to be pissed at me for trading up for Dallas Turner. And I think this point, he's trading back to get more picks so that we can have more ammunition. And there's so many connections with the Browns and Shedeur Sanders. So I think the Vikings do stay on the clock, I think Malachi Starks is a good fit for them as the safety. I think that would be the only thing. That would be the only other player I'd consider. Otherwise, they're probably going to try to aggressively trade out.
Do you think this is a good idea for the Browns? I think this is a good idea for the Browns.
I think it's a great idea. Like, there's a ton of connection between Pat Shurmur and like his office coordinator in Denver, and then here, there's just a lot of connections. It gives them like a shot, an opportunity while still getting a blue chip player. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is going to be any good. He might suck, but like you have some familiarity with Travis Hunter. Like I think it's a fun pairing that also probably sells tickets. Like it's a win on multiple fronts without giving up very much.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about an organization that has literally absolutely the least amount of goodwill engendered possible from their fans. Their fans are shaking and screaming and crying, waiting for something good to happen to them. So we've got the Browns. We now have the Houston Texans on the clock. How are you weighing this wide receiver versus offensive line thing?
Yeah, I think two options here stand out. Tyler Booker makes a lot of sense here at 25, and I also think that Egbuka makes a lot of sense here at 25. I've heard from people like saying Egbuka won't get past 25. I also heard Booker won't get past 25. So something's got to give. I don't know which is which, but those are the two players that I think at this point are linked most to the Texans.
Yeah, dude, we're going Egbuka. This is a fantasy fantasy football perspective on the draft.
It'd be awesome.
They were college teammates. Have to think that they feel good about middle round draft picks at offensive line, because it would be insane to jettison what did they jettison 3 starters on their offensive line and be like, oh, we're gonna make it all up in round 1. That's not how it works, bro. I think Egbuka is going to be a Houston Texan, and I think he's a pretty good fit with Nico and Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk can do either. He can play in the slot or he can be the Y. People forget Christian Kirk actually for Arizona was not a slot receiver at all.
Yeah, and Egbuka can do both. Like it's just like you just probably don't want him as like a predominant like X. Like that's not where you want him. So like you just slot flanker, like a little bit of both. Have him and Christian Kirk kind of just mixing things up. That's perfect. Like that's exactly what you want, and he would crush. I think.
100%. All right, man. We now have the another weirdo pick. Never really know what to do with the Rams in these drafts. Pick 26, the Rams.
Yeah, I think in this spot here, because I think we had who's that the corner? Will Johnson, I think, is in play here. I think Trey Amos is in play here. Yeah, I think Will or Amos would make a lot of sense here. Those are two of the most popular picks. Also Maxwell Hairston, but there's some off-field stuff with him going on that I don't know if a team's going to touch him in the first round, even after he ran super fast. So still confident Will Johnson's a first-round pick. He was awesome in 2023, which just wasn't very good in 2024 and didn't test all that well. So
I think we do Will Johnson. It's a little bit more. I believe, if I remember correctly, Rams are one of the teams that are a little bit less huge on the medicals. Yep. I want to say that I remember that historically, but like everything you read on the internet, I could just be entirely making that up. The Baltimore Ravens are now on the clock with pick 27. Feels like this fella, Mike Green from Marshall, just destined to be a Raven.
Yeah, I think Green or Campbell are both like two falling guys that are just really good, but have their own problems in their own way. So I think either of those are good picks here.
If you want to connect some dots, the Ravens did draft a running back from Marshall last year. They did draft Rasheen Ali in the 5th round from Marshall. So there you go. This is a spot that if you're a fantasy football loser is pretty fun to do, the Detroit Lions, because you can just try and convince yourself that they need a wider, that they need Luther Burden, that they need Travion Henderson, that they need Mason Taylor, whoever. But let's be real. This is going to be the Jihad Campbell pick, I think, if he's
Yeah.
still on the board in
Yep.
real life.
Yeah, I think so. There is the Jameson Williams rumors about them trading him, but they want like a solid first for him, and I don't think most teams are willing to give that. So I think they're probably going to go like Campbell here, or I think Campbell makes the most sense.
Yeah, they do love their linebackers. Now I think we could have some fun with this pick because we got the two big fallers in our wormhole that we've entered into with Mike Green and Jihad Campbell. They're off the board. The Commanders are up. They have the number one asset in all of franchise building. They have a quarterback on a rookie contract. I think they could tell themselves Travion Henderson. I think they could tell themselves they need a receiver. I think they could take probably not a tight end after Sinnott. I think they could take a lineman. They could take a corner. They could take Starks here. I mean, I think we're wide open here for the Commanders.
What do you think about Travion Henderson?
I like it. Yeah. Because that's kind of the element they're missing. They have two guys who are dependable in their backfield, but they have no explosion.
Eckler also turns 30 in May and has like, I think less than $1 million guaranteed left in the second year of his contract. Like he could get cut. If they draft a running back, like he's a legit cut candidate. And so they also, Dan Quinn, like Coach Spiegel said a great note, like didn't mention any of the running backs by names in the presser, was just like, after he was like vocally saying like, I love Brian Robinson the year prior, etc. Just like maybe he slipped his mind, but like wasn't talking them up at all. But it was like, we need to catch more passes out of the backfield, etc., etc. I don't know. Maybe that's more Eckler, but I think Henderson would be a pretty fun fit here for a lot of ways. So, I mean, he'd be like an auto, like, I don't know, fringe RB2, like right away, basically.
Yes. Now, I would not go crazy unloading in a position on this if he's like the favorite, because like that's kind of how this thing works is you get some rumors. Like I would assume in the betting markets he's favored to go
10 to 1.
Oh,
Running
maybe
back
I would bet that actually. I actually
Yeah.
probably would bet that. I would probably add that into the portfolio. So we are gonna do Travion Henderson to the Washington Commanders. It just feels like it's the end of the first round. The running game is super important. It was always super important under Cliff in Arizona. It was always super important for Cliff when he was in college. And they have two guys who are fine, but they don't have anyone who's special. And I can see them. I mean, I could see them thinking Caleb Johnson special. I could see them thinking multiple of these guys are pretty special. But we'll do Travion Henderson at 29. The Bills need a corner, but I don't really know if there is a corner here for us. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're linked to Amos. I think you could do Amos, Kenneth Grant's like defensive lineman. He's like a faller. I think one of those guys makes sense. But yeah, like Amos or Hairston. But if you want to go corner, I think Trey Amos makes the most sense.
All right, I think we do that.
Cool.
Their cornerback situation last year. I mean, they have Benford, who's so good, and then they have Kyer Elam, who they totally missed on. But I think defensive back is far and away their biggest need. As the Kansas City Chiefs representative here on the program, I can tell you this is gonna be the most boring ass pick of your life. They're going up there and they're taking Gray Zabel. Like Gray Zabel's on the board. Every Chiefs fan, every Chiefs writer, James Palmer, all these dudes, they all know, and it's him or it's Connerly. But I think in this, we had Connerly already go, right? Oh no. So it could be Connerly, right? I would say those are your two options, Gray Zabel or Connerly. Gray Zabel actually kind of fits the Chiefs mold a little bit more in terms of their like threshold stuff. And the Chiefs love small school guys. The Veach front office loves these small school guys, but yeah, this is I would probably bet this at like plus 130 or whatever. It feels pretty likely.
Yeah, it's definitely the favorite. Something that crossed my mind though, I want to pick your brain on it. So like they're going to be in that range where like a guy like James Pierce or maybe even Mike Green falls that are kind of a little more troubled, but like really talented.
They love that.
Yeah, so like I was thinking about this and I'm like, man, like if they land like one of those guys, like it's just like it's kind of like the Eagles. Like you're always like, oh well, they just land some sick player who like has some small like Jalen Carter kind of thing, like fell 6 picks just because some off-field stuff and turned out to be nothing, and he's a freak. So like I think that's another way they can go.
No, that is super live. And
Yeah.
what is even more super live, I would say, the reason why I wouldn't bet any Gray Zabel stuff is the more likely thing is trading back.
Okay.
Trading out of the first round entirely. Like if I would handicap it, I would say tackle most likely, troubled behavior faller second most likely, trade third most likely, any skill position player like 999. I would truly be stunned if they took a skill position player. I really would.
Yeah, I don't blame you, especially with like all the options here. Like there's a bunch of like fringe receivers and stuff like that. Whereas like there's still a lot of really good, talented players that, especially because the way we had this mock unfold, I think we have 4 quarterbacks and 3 running backs. So like it's pushed down like a lot of these like Josh Connerly, a lot of like random other like I don't know, just regular like offensive linemen and defensive linemen that I think are more common in mocks, but like it's impossible to fit everyone in the first round. Like it's just it just doesn't work. This year especially, it's super flat from like pick 13 to 50, basically.
Yes. All right. The Eagles, man. What insane top 10 player are they going to find their way to?
Here, go back to the main screen here. I want to see if there's anyone like left on the top of this.
Starks. As SEC Georgia randomly falls for no reason.
Yeah, just pick him. Yeah, that's like there you go. I would say Starks or Grant or Starks, Grant or Pierce probably all make like all those are awesome picks. Like those are all great picks.
That right there is actually so perfect. That is exactly how it works. So our mock was Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Carter, Campbell, Jeanty. We had the Bears trading up for Jeanty. I think that all feels fairly in this universe. I think none of that seems too insane. Membou at 6 to the Raiders. Where we start to diverge from the betting market was Kelvin Banks at 7 to the Jets. Mason Graham at 8 to the Panthers. And then Dart at 9 also was a diversion from reality as well.
Yeah, and then I mean, I think the Milroe stuff is interesting. Like that was kind of a fun, like unique angle there. Warren falling to 14 is pretty. His over under is 10.5 right now, and he's juiced pretty heavily under. So like, I think most people are expecting him to go top 10. But the more I do these mocks, like there's just not a whole lot of fits that make sense outside of like if he's not going to the Jets, if is he going to the Bears? But like the Bears really like Jeanty. Like is Jeanty be on the board at 10? So I just really have a tough time with Warren as well.
I think I think that's pretty reasonable. I do like Golden at 12. I do like that Michael Williams exactly at 15. I love if you can get Emin Wari exactly to the Packers or exactly at 23 or under 23 and a half or lower than 23 and a half. Any specific betting stuff that we did not cover, any angles that you do really like?
Yeah, I think the Henderson, it looks like 9-1 FanDuel right now. First pick running back for the Commanders. I think that's 9-1 is worth a shot for sure. I laid a lot of juice on under 4.5 corners. I think is interesting. Like we even had 3 go in the last 7 picks, and we still went under 4.5, including Travis Hunter. So that's kind of interesting as well. Saints, I think Saints are pretty live to draft an offensive lineman or a quarterback. I think that's like, I'm laying a little bit more on offensive line, but again, I think quarterback's live too. So I think all those are probably the best bets that are left on the board as of now. Honestly, I'm trying to think. Golden first wide receiver. I think that's still plus money, and I don't really.
Golden first wide receiver is a really good wager.
Yeah, like I think
I would say that's probably my favorite non like chalk would be Golden first wide receiver.
Also, Cowboys to draft a wide receiver I think is really interesting because like if you don't buy into the little Golden stuff, like it's like I think plus 130 or 140 or something like that for Cowboys draft a wide receiver. So I don't know. That's another way to play it. Hopefully they drop 12th exact. I would love to get like a 2-1 on Golden at 12 or better than that. Hopefully.
Yeah. All right, Connor, tell the people about the cool stuff you guys have going on over at 444 and BetSperts, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. You can find all my stuff over at 44.com. Releasing my final mock, before we go live here, and then we'll have some more bets for the NFL draft, as well as some baseball, NBA, et cetera, throughout the offseason, plus some NFL futures. Never sleeps.
Never sleeps. All right, everyone, make sure that you like the video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and we'll be back with you